stop slipping, and stop cutting your socks. We have 15 different color options between 3 grip socks and 2 sleeve types. Something for everybody at a price that just makes sense. Available now at puregripsocks.com. The Predator 25 Elite FT is one of the most popular top-end football boots on the market, and for good reason. While not perfect, from a looks and feel perspective, it's definitely a standout. But now you can get it with a fusion skin leather upper, which of course begs the question, is the Predator 25 better with a leather or synthetic upper? Let's discuss. Starting with the price, where for the synthetic model, if you want the Elite FT variation, it's going to run you $280 at full retail. If you want it in this super cool pink David Beckham colorway, Adidas is charging $10 extra, so $290 for these in particular. However, an option that you have with the synthetic model that you don't have with the leather version is if you don't care for this fold over tongue and the elastic strap, you can get the non-FT Predator 25 Elite for $260 at full retail. Where if you want a leather version of the new Predator, you pretty much only have one option, and that is the FT variation with this fold over tongue, where instead of the usual $280, this black, silver, and red colorway will run you $300. A lot of you guys have also been asking about the league tier option that's available in this colorway, where up close it does have that artificial leather grain finish. However, just like all past colorways of the Predator 25 League FT, those two are full synthetic. Both boots that, by the way, you can pick up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes via the links down below. And really quickly before we keep going, if you enjoy the comparison videos on this channel, don't forget to drop a like on this one. And if you appreciate the unsugar-coated, unsponsored, brutally honest opinions on this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2025. Before we talk about what is different between these two, let's discuss what's exactly the same, starting with the Control Frame 2.0 sole plate and stud pattern, where regardless of whether you go for the synthetic or leather variation, that remains identical. Towards the front of the upper, it's very easy to see the difference in shaping, width, as well as overall volume. However, once you get to the heel area, the construction, shape, and width is exactly the same. So if the heel wasn't necessarily your favorite aspect of the synthetic Pred 25, you're not really gonna like it anymore on the leather variation. Not bad or unwearable by any means, but it's certainly the area with the most room for improvement. The graphics might differ a little, but the insoles themselves are exactly the same. The strike skin rubber elements are also exactly the same on both the leather and synthetic variants, providing tons of extra grip on the ball, particularly noticeable when shooting and passing. And then perhaps the biggest driving factor for all the hype around the Pred 25, the fold over flap tongue. While there are some variations in design from colorway to colorway, physically, the tongue itself is the same padded synthetic on the surface, and the actual tongue that runs underneath the laces is the same type of soft microfiber as well, where the strap, while it might have different graphics, again from colorway to colorway, is identical whether you go for synthetic or leather. Where we start to see some change is in the weight of these two football boots, both in the same size 9.5 US. You can see that the synthetic variant of the Pred 25 Elite FT weighs in at 7.55 ounces, the equivalent of 214 grams. Change the scale back to ounces, and we'll throw on the leather upper variation, and you can see that they weigh in at 8 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 226 grams, which is an extra 12 grams in favor of the synthetic model. Not a huge amount of weight, but considering the difference in fit, feel, and structure of the synthetic upper compared to the leather one, I would make the argument that the synthetic ones do feel lighter on your feet. Not by a lot, but there is a difference. Which leads us into what is easily the biggest difference between these two, and something that has a gigantic impact on the fit, feel, and overall experience, and that is the Fusion Skin calf leather upper of the leather variant, or the Hybrid Touch 2.0 synthetic model of the standard Predator 25. Where I guess to make a long story short, do you want something that is thinner, less padded, offering perhaps more of a barefoot feel than I think a lot of people might expect based on how these look, with significantly more structure and a much tighter overall fit? Or would you rather have a calf leather upper that is significantly softer, more pliable, and more padded on the ball without being bulky, of course, but as a trade-off, you lose out on some of that structural integrity, making this a little bit less locked in and responsive as what you'll find from the synthetic model. However, as potentially a bonus, depending on preference as well as foot type, tons of extra width and volume through the forefoot and toe box area, which personally I find to be exceptionally more comfortable compared to the synthetic model. On feet, if it weren't for the two boots sharing the same heel, you would be hard pressed to even guess that both of these were the same model. The shaping and the fit is entirely different, where it's even clear to see with these boots on feet, where the toe box and forefoot area is significantly more narrow and significantly lower volume on the synthetic one, where because this Hybrid Touch 2.0 just doesn't have that elasticity that natural leather does, it has more of that kind of squeeze your foot sensation versus the Fusion Skin variation in natural calf leather, just having more width, more volume, more stretch, and generally just a much softer feel with significantly more width through the forefoot, toe box, and honestly, even the midfoot area, where for me personally, just liking a little bit more of that relaxed, softer, natural leather feel that you can only get from actual leather football boots, I have a very strong preference toward the leather variation of the Pred 25. However, if you like a little bit more of that tighter, raw, barefoot, responsive feel on foot, certainly the synthetic model would be more your cup of tea. When it comes to sizing, I'm wearing the same size 9.5 US in both of these boots. However, because of the differences in both the material of the upper as well as the shaping, they do end up feeling a little bit different from each other in terms of length, where my toes reach the same point at the end of the sole plate with both of these boots. However, on the synthetic model, because of the lower volume, more pointed shape, it's just more cramped than what you get on the leather upper variation, where if you're wearing your boots really snug as it is, sticking with the same size for both of these is probably going to be your best bet. But if you currently have a pair of the synthetic variation with a little bit of extra room and you're thinking about upgrading to the leather one, if you want to maintain that super snug fit towards the front, going down half a size might not be a bad idea. Again, for the vast majority, I'd recommend going for the same size in both, but again, it very much depends on your preferences as well as the shape of your feet as it relates to the width and length of these two models. For two football boots that have the same base design, they feel very different from each other. Where credit where it's due, as you'd expect, and also I think as most people would want, there is a distinctly different experience on offer between the leather and synthetic variants of the Pred 25, just as there used to be when there was always a leather and synthetic option within the Predator lineup. With the 2011 Predator AdiPower being the last time you could get a leather or synthetic Predator. So to say the least, it's been quite a while. Having said that, I think it would be extremely misleading to suggest that one version of the Predator 25 is going to be the best one for absolutely everybody, because I think part of the reason why you would want a brand to offer two different variations of an upper for the same design is to offer a different type of fit, feel, and overall experience. And Adidas have definitely done that successfully with these two models, where if you're more of a Predator traditionalist, you've always wanted the Predator to be leather again, I think every bit of this change is going to be something that you enjoy. It's softer, it's more comfortable, it's more padded both against your foot as well as on the ball. And personally, from a fit perspective, I really appreciate the extra width and volume through the forefoot and toe box area. Whereas if you've been drawn to the Predator 25 Elite FT, less so because of the feel and more so because of that old school nostalgic aesthetic with the fold-over tongue. The Hybrid Touch 2.0 synthetic upper, while not my favorite personally, is thinner, more pingy on the ball, certainly more secure and responsive just because of the added structure, and has that kind of slimmer, tighter, dare I say, more speed boot-esque fit than what you'll get from the leather variation. So should you buy the leather or synthetic version of the new Predator? Well, that very much depends on what you want and like.